the other thing that was in the errata that we were going to talk about were orcs and kobolds.
That's
Are you
right.
ready? Yeah. So as I said at the top of the show, orcs and kobolds no longer have negatives to their ability scores, which is awesome. And if you have a character in D&D Beyond, that update is going to be happening on Tuesday,
That's right.
because we try to be cautious about doing anything that's going to affect anyone's character sheets. So if you want to save any of your current characters, nothing will change on your character sheets. Nothing will be removed. Basically, the version of Orc and Kobold that are out right now are going to be archived. And you'll see on a Kobold character that you have right now, eventually it'll change and it'll say Kobold archived. And you'll have access to the new Kobold, and your old character sheets with those old characters will still be available. You just won't be able to use the old, you won't be able to make new characters with the old versions of these races anymore. But, I mean, when you can now have a kobold that doesn't have a negative modifier to their strength, why? Why not? Why not go for the new versions? So we have a whole stack of kobolds and orcs that I'm excited to show off. We're actually gonna start with one of my favorites, who Todd, you DM'd for Idavon at one point.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So Idavon is, I mean, he's still got a -1 to his strength because, he's a monk. We're back to monks. But I was so excited because poor Idavon for a while had a 6 to his strength, and that was just sad. This tiny little monk with no strength whatsoever. But I was super excited. He's he's one of the UA subclasses,
Mm-hmm.
an astral way of the astral self monk, which means he gets the astral arms, which have 10-foot reach, which I find amusing on a kobold that might only be 4 foot tall. So you now have 10-foot reach.
Such an It's a nightmare character.
No,
No, it's great. No, it's a great character.
it was so much fun. I've had a couple different versions of this character on a few streams and a couple games. He's one of the characters that I grab on a regular basis when I'm playing a one shot or need someone fun. He's
Yeah.
ridiculous and fun, and now he doesn't have the problem with his strength. Well, I mean, he's still
Yeah. He's not. Yeah, there are far and few between strength based monks.
No, I mean, it made sense for that to be the dump step, but now it is no longer painful. It's no longer a problem to punch people in the face. It's so much fun.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Awesome.
Let's pull up Sigil, who you created.
Yes, because it's funny.
Tell me about this character.
Well, it's characters. So we'll just be clear about that. So I thought we're all in love with the concept of 3 kobolds in a trench coat. So I thought, what if we made 3 kobolds in a trench coat, and that's your adventuring party? And I realized these should be triplets, and everyone should take the exact same class. So their names are Sigil, Sigil, and Sigil.
Oh, jeez.
Because people sometimes don't want to agree with how to say Sigil. They are all assassin rogues. They all have the actor feat, which gives them a very large bonus to pretending to be somebody they're not. They all have a leather cloak that they hide underneath. And for this build, I decided that they all need expertise in deception. I think that's really important. We really needed to have exceptional performance. That's a +9. They're getting that also from the actor feat, so that's exceptionally high. We've got sleight of hand +9 and stealth. I think you have all the tools to all pretend at the same time to be one human being, one humanoid type shaped medium creature at this point. Your performance rolls are going to be really helpful. If one of your brothers is messing up, you can just give them the help action with their deception, who are talking, and the actor feat. And we also took the charlatan feat. So we're very good at having false identities at this point, the charlatan background. But the actor feat allows us to also kind of mimic other people's voices. So you can imagine, I'm a kobold and everything. Oh, hi everyone. How are you doing today? So you're very adept at that. all of you, your sisters and brothers are quite good at that. But this also means if you're all assassins and you act before somebody else, you can just start throwing out crits like crazy. All three of you could like throw off your cloak, jump on your target, and just assassinate them for massive amounts of damage.
And it is surprising. Although, like, at this point, do we see a kobold in a trench coat not automatically assume there's two others?
You have a big cloak.
It's a super big cloak.
Yeah. If I see a tall kobold, maybe you're wearing a dragonborn mask. Maybe you've used one of your disguise kits to have a dragonborn mask, so it all makes sense somehow.
Or you just pass yourself off as a small dragonborn and don't even have the mask, because then people can see past, because they're related enough that you might be able to get away with it.
It cast enlarge on just the head kobold's head, so it looks like a dragonborn head.
All right, between the three of them, how do you decide who gets to be the head? Is it rock, paper, scissors every time? Is it...
I think Siggle's always on top because Siggle's right.
And why is Sigil always right?
And Sigil and no, I think you're right. I think this is endless debate time, and I think this would actually be very fun for a one shot with three people playing, all brothers and sisters arguing over who gets to be at the top of the pile. I would adore this. So yeah,
there you go. Well, now we're just gonna have to play this one shot.
Yeah, this
is gonna have to happen.
We're just it's definitely a one shot. I don't know if I would fall. I mean, watch it would take off, and then you watch like 20 adventures with Sigil, and Sigil.
And all of them start with you playing rock, paper, scissors to figure out who gets to be the head. That's just how the game starts. It takes 10 seconds. It's great. I got a lot of help in creating a whole bunch of characters very fast for this from my wonderful moderators. And so we wanted to show off, now that you don't have these negative modifiers, some other options, especially with point buy, because there's going to be the alternative ways of doing ability modifiers coming up soon. But right now, with any of these characters, you can use point buy and get yourself a character that is the flavor that you want, is the background and the backstory that you want, without having to worry about, oh, well, this is the optimal build, because point buy kind of lets you do that.
Yeah.
And so now that kobolds don't have the negative modifier to their strength, DMJ created for us Swole McDole. Kobold Barbarian, Path of the Zealot, which is exactly what you would expect from a barbarian, being able to jump on in. He's just amazing. What I like about the idea of a kobold barbarian is pack tactics, and being able to be there with any other melee class and just getting advantage on everything. And as a barbarian, being able to go into a rage, although I think with this being the zealot, they don't have... Oh, they do have reckless. So yeah, so being reckless, but then getting pack tactics and not having to worry about that disadvantage on stuff. Or because a lot of the time, a lot of mitigating a barbarian is trying to stop them from being able to hit you, because once they hit you, you're basically dead. And so being able to mitigate a lot of that. Swole also has the athlete feat, which means trying to deal with Swole is incredibly difficult. And if you knock Swole down, even though he is a small kobold, he can get up pretty quick and is not going to be too hampered. You're not getting away from Swole. Swole has... we're doing level 4 characters, and he's already got a +30 to his strength and dex. So point buy is an amazing thing. And also I love the idea of just this beefy kobold just working out, is not hiding in the shadows, is just there to help you out and to punch the people who are making fun of you and protect his friends. And I love Swole.
That made me... I realized I forgot to mention the pack tactics with your three brothers of Sigil, because you are all together and you all have advantage. So your chances of like criticals after the fact are still exceptionally high. Oh
yeah. And since we were talking about paladins earlier, I've got this fun character from Anoth, this is a glory paladin kobold with a great sword, which means pack tactics negates the disadvantage for having a heavy weapon when you are a small creature, which is pretty neat. And so you've got this little 2-foot kobold swinging this
Oh
massive great
no.
sword at people. And because you use point buy and you don't have the negatives anymore, Valor has plenty of strength. There's so much strength here.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting whacked with this great sword and then smote and from this tiny little kobold. This
That's
is
adorable.
anime right here. This is
Yeah,
how you do
this
anime.
is good anime stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love this. And I think this is, we're up to level 5 with this one, so you get the extra attack. So don't be afraid to give your tiny characters giant weapons.
Oh, it's always lovely. That's why I always like, if I'm a Hexblade Warlock, I always make sure I have a great sword from like Final Fantasy, because
There
I'm
you
using my
go.
charisma to lift it basically and attack with it.
If you can't use your sword as a coat rack, your sword's not big enough.
Yeah. If it doesn't fit, like if it doesn't require an entire section of your garage, you're not doing it right.
There you go. And then we've got one more of your fun kobolds. Talk to us about Spew.
So I do have 2 more kobolds. Apparently, I'm obsessed right now. I added a one right at the last second because of weird math, and I love weird math. This is Spew, and I'm in love with Spew. This is inspired by Chris Perkins, the lovely human that we all know and love, and his character Spurt. And Spurt was alive for 11 days, and I theorized that Spurt had a brother that maybe is out for revenge or looking for Spurt or looking to bring Spurt back from the dead. This is not the original name for his brother. I will not say what the original name for his brother was, but I went with a different name for this audience. So Spew,
I appreciate that.
You're welcome, is an artificer alchemist. And because I was struggling, like, how do I make literally the stat block of a inventor kobold? And so I looked at that monster stat block and I realized, well, I really want a scorpion on the end of a stick. So I gave myself a spear, and I actually turned that into one of my infusions. So it's a +1 spear, and I took the poisoner feat. So that kind of explains why there's a scorpion at the end of it. It literally is a stick with a scorpion on the end of it that has been magically infused by my powers as an inventor. And so it is an effective weapon that also will do poison damage, because I'll add poison to the scorpion. Maybe my way of adding poison is literally spiking an actual scorpion on top of that particular spear. And I went so far in D&D Beyond, because Lauren told me about this, renaming my spear Scorpion on a Stick. So when I look at my all section, I have my attack Scorpion on a Stick.
I need to update, because I'm still seeing spear. I see the rock rub pot and some of the other stuff. Maybe I just need to
do you see it
refresh.
under actions?
Yep.
Okay, so
It
there
just
is
says spear, but the other ones are here.
All right. Well, so I've got that. I got rock rub pot, which is another thing that Spurt had, and I thought this would work really well for Grease. So all I did was renamed Grease rock rub pot to have kind of a similar effect as that particular effect that you get from the Inventor Kobold, which is exactly what Spurt was in that Critical Role game. And then I renamed Acid Arrow Green Slime Pot. And that's kind of like you throwing out a green slime monster to like burn your enemies and stuff like that. So I found it kind of like enchanting as an artificer to rename your spells to be exactly what you mean them to be. And so I fell in love with this character, and I've not had a chance to play this character, but I've literally daydreamed about this character and what you can do by renaming spells and weapons.
I kind of want this character to take either levels in Druid or Swarmkeeper Ranger.
Yeah. Yep.
So that when you're looking for that scorpion to put on the end of your stick, you always have one right there.
Yeah, I think that's very accurate, because you've got the swarm of bees or wasps that he throws. You've got the scorpion. I think that makes a lot of sense. I could see this not being an artificer at all. potentially, at least his brother, right? So I think that's really smart. And I was sad that I don't have infestation the spell as an artificer. That's
Mm.
where I came up short. But I feel like I got pretty close to actually making Spurt the kobold or his twin brother.
No, that's super cool. Yeah, I can see why having him as an artificer totally makes sense.
Yeah,
So, but
but
yeah, at
but you're
higher
right. The
levels, I
Swarm
betcha.
Keeper makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, adding a few levels of Swarm Keeper in there, or as I said, Druid in order to be able to have that interaction.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, or you take Mage Initiate to get that one infestation spell
there you
because
go.
it's not that high.
And then you just sent me this kobold before
Uh,
we go on to orcs.
all right,
Tell me about Kaiju.
I'll be real quick about this. This is Kaiju. He is a Rune Knight Kobold. He goes from being tiny to large at 3rd level. That's the power of being a Rune Knight, is you invoke that ability for your class. As a Rune Knight, you can suddenly become large. And I also took the Hill Giant rune, which makes me, when I have it, I'm resistant to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage for up to a minute. I took a Frost rune that gives me animal handling and an increased strength by 2, so I can get up to 19 strength. And I have Giant Might, which means I do extra 1d6 damage with all of my physical attacks. So you're a tiny kobold that gets super big, has multiple attacks, and can really kind of lay down the hurt. And I kind of love it because now you're like even bigger than a dragonborn. And I wanted to top it off with something very weird about kobolds. You are tiny. So you are tiny, you're medium, you're taking up a 5-foot square, right? Well, there's a thing that kobolds have that is grovel, cower, and beg. Once per short rest as an action, you can cower to distract foes. So what you do is you get big. you increase your size to large. Then you cower in front of them like you're scared. Until the end of your next turn, allies gain advantage on attacks against enemies that are within 10 feet of you that can see you. Well, here's the deal. You've just increased the number of squares you're taking up. You're taking up about 4 squares on the grid map instead of 1. And that means the number of other monsters that are affected by this cowering effect is huge compared to what would normally be if you were just a regular sized kobold. I love the idea of this Godzilla-like creature just going, no, don't hurt me, and distracting an entire army for you for 1 round.
See, now this is where I would reflavor Grovel, Cower, and Beg, and I would just, it would be mechanically the same, but I would literally turn it into Godzilla, in where instead of it being groveling, cowering, and begging, you roar. You
Yeah,
roar in that moment and distract so many people around you, or frighten, not the condition, but just frighten so many people around
right.
you that's what everybody gets advantage on. So I would, that's where I would make the flavor change, but otherwise that's fun.
Godzilla does have a few tantrums though, so I can see Godzilla just like throwing his feet up and down like a toddler.
Oh yeah.
You know?
All right, we've got a couple minutes left, and I want to move on to orcs, because orcs also got a big update. They not only lost their negative to their intelligence, but they had a couple of their features replaced, which inspired a few other characters. Specifically, I immediately had to go make a wizard. I specifically made a wizard that I've had this idea for a while of creating one of the wizards that's in Waterdeep that helps with the Watchful Order, that helps basically solve crimes. So not quite Sherlock, but in that vein of being the diviner wizard that is studying a crime scene, that is trying to figure out, with the city watch, with the city guard, what's gone wrong. And so this is an orc wizard who's just taken a whole bunch of spells that all would make sense for someone who's working at Waterdeep, working the beat at Waterdeep, trying to find what has happened if someone gets murdered. Being able to, a mage hand I figured was you had to have it because that's the only way that you can examine a
Yeah.
crime scene without
Yeah,
messing
you don't
things
want
up,
to
right?
contaminate the crime scene.
Yep. I thought Encode Thoughts was a great way to be able to take notes for things and to be able to pass those along to people so that they could then see exactly what you were seeing at this crime scene, comprehend languages, detect magic, identify. You got to have a couple of things. Eventually, you're going to be chasing down the suspect, and you need to
Mhm.
have some mage armor because our friend here, super intelligent, wise, and charismatic, not so strong. Their armor class, not so much. You know, they're a wizard. Um, they've got unseen servants and can detect thoughts and hold people and locate objects, and just they're the utility wizard. And then kind of what we were talking about before, because they're a diviner, being able to use those portents, and just the idea of the diviner as an investigator.
That's so good, Lauren. This I mean, because often I want to play that Sherlock Holmes character, and like if you saw the recent movie, the movies for Sherlock Holmes, he kind of sees the future. And they kind of represented this in the Inquisitive as having being able to eye somebody and get a high sneak attack. I feel like this is something brilliant in that you were flavored. It's not magic. It's just you literally know step by step what is going to happen next because you're so smart by intuition. And I think that's amazing. I love
well,
this reflavoring of it.
yeah. Well, and I just thought I, because the negatives have gone away, this was the first thing that I thought of when,
Yeah.
how do you make something that's off the normal type? And now that the negatives are gone with uh just the standard way of making things, I've got my orc wizard. I would love to play this in a Waterdeep campaign,
Yeah.
like a CSI kind of game. And then I got some more help from my mods. This is from Storm Knight. She made for us this Orc Bard, who is amazing. This is kind of along the same lines. They're a guardian of a state of affairs, and their
Is that a
spells are all
top hat?
support. That is a top hat and a monocle. I don't know where this image came from, but it's brilliant and I love it so much. It's awesome. But yeah, Orc Bard, because why not be at least half proficient on everything? Because bards are awesome. And because of the background of being a guardian of state and working with state affairs, this would be like the bard who's working with the upper crust management for my character, who's
Hmm.
walking the beat and figuring out crimes. And so all of their spells are very utility focused. So comprehend languages, charm person, disguise self, detect thoughts, invisibility, clairvoyance. So yeah, I just and Critical Role fans will remember that Matt has had orc bards before, and that's so I just I just love this picture is amazing. And then one more step away from bard, kind of, we've got thanks to G Pyromania, I would like to give you the maestro, who is an orc barbarian. So this
Oh
is
no.
this is a bard 3 barbarian 2, specifically a pro wrestler who basically
Mm.
is going to grapple you and you're not going to be able to get away. You had created a grappler character with a grung that was using the poison in order to give disadvantage.
Hmm.
This is literally, I'm going to mock you and prevent and mock your inability to get away from me. So he knows his way around a mic and has the muscle to back it up, a +9 to athletics. And when he's raging, he gets advantage on the grapple
Yeah.
checks.
Yeah.
Being able to use vicious mockery, unseen servant, pyrotechnics, and dancing lights for your amazing entrance. So yeah, I thought this was super fun. I just like the idea though of grappling someone and then mocking them while you've got them grappled.
That's the worst.
It's the best. It's being able. It's just I'm gonna talk smack.
It's fantastic. I love it. I love it. If only there was a spell that you could cast where there were like rings, like just ropes, right? Like you just cast some kind of restraining spell that creates a cube. First cube becomes your like wrestling area.
There you go. There you go. Or you reflavor Magnificent Mansion, and now it's
Yeah.
just it's a fighting pit. it's a ring that you can do WWE in, and then vicious mock everything. Because yeah, I 100% agree. If you're gonna go with professional wrestling at its best, they're bards. They're
Oh yeah, it's
100%
true.
bards with a
Yeah,
little fighter or barbarian in there. So now
yeah.
you've got this giant, this is kind of using the strength of an orc, and then also featuring some of that bard ability, and I love it so much.
May
So I
use
kind of
rope
want all
trick.
three of these characters in Waterdeep. This is the trio that I want to play.
I think you need thaumaturgy because you need that announcer voice in this
Mm,
corner, and you need rope trick because this rope trick.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
because.
and you need improvised weapons because you're hitting people with chairs from the audience. you need,
But
you know how you do.
I would because this is worldwide wrestling, is that more performance than athletics? Mm.
You know what? As a DM, I would rule that a lot of this would go into performance because if you're used to being in the ring, I would allow you to choose athletics or performance because this is kind of like where you're used to performing, right? Like we are different people
Mm.
when we are in our element. Um, like right now, we're on camera. And the minute this camera turns off, I'm probably going to desperately want to fall asleep all of a sudden because all my coffee is going to run out. But I think performance would be lovely to
And
be able to use that as like an attack.
and the nice thing about the maestro is they've got a +9 to athletics and a +8 to performance. So either way you want to go,
Yeah,
this
yeah, you're
character is going to win. This
yeah.
character is going to do it. So yeah. Um so yeah, if you are a fan of any of these characters, we'll have them linked in the YouTube information, and you can make them for yourself when you can do that now. Basically, we just went into their stats and just gave them bonuses. But on Tuesday, when all of this goes live on D&D Beyond, you can make your own bard or kobold without any of the negative modifiers, and go and have some fun making characters with those origins that you never got a chance to do before, because those negatives sucked, and I'm glad they're gone.
Yeah, I am too. And that's why I was playing orcs from Eberron and orcs from Wildmount, both of which did not have those particular negatives. And so because I actually love orcs. I grew up with orcs. I played an orc barbarian I was very, very fond of. He's my sweet, gentle boy. But like having those minuses kind of bums you out, especially with the kind of power differential there was with the half orc. It just didn't really felt like it made a lot of sense. So I like being able to just play just a big orc again, and I'm excited to make some characters based on that.
And this brings the orc in line with the Orc of Exandria. So
Yes.
while the backstory elements might be different because of the planes of existence that they're on, the powers and the stats that they get now are in line, which are going to make a few things a lot easier. Because yeah, the same way I think most of us were really excited about the orc from the Eberron and the Wildmount versions, because
Yeah.
they were they didn't have that negative, and it just meant that you can kind of do anything you wanted, and it was a lot more fun.
Why penalize people for playing any race in D&D, especially when you're probably not, like, if you don't want to play with intelligence, you're not going to boost intelligence. But if you want to play a wizard, don't put a cap on that. So I think this is a fantastic change in Errata. I still want to smite with my fist, but hey.
Well, we had one other question here that I think is appropriate to ask right now, although I know what the answer is going to be. We did have Miara ask, have you ever had to call up Jeremy Crawford for advice in your own game? And the answer is no, because Jeremy Crawford is wonderful and puts out a lot of this information on his Twitter, and you can go to the Sage Advice. And you know what? As he has always said, if there's always a question, ask your DM, or it's usually right there in the rules, but ask your DM. Whatever your DM says goes. So maybe you just need to ask your DM to let you use your gauntleted fist as your weapon.
Right.
And there you go.
I have a different answer than Lauren. I have abused my friendships with Jeremy Crawford, Chris Perkins, Dan Dillon at length. So yeah, I will flat out ask them. I don't recommend anyone else do that.
No, I recommend go to Sage Advice.
Sage Advice.
Go to the Sage Advice column or go to your DM. Because chances are, if you have a fun idea for a character concept and maybe it isn't quite within the rules, your DM wants you to have fun. Work with your DM.
Your DM should always want you to have a good time and have fun, and yes, and especially when things get super weird.
Or no, but their answer might be not right now, but give me a level or two of your character and then we'll do something. So
yeah, these are all fantastic characters. I'm excited to not get a chance to play them.
Listen, there's games out there. We're just gonna have to get some games together, and then we'll have the 3 orcs and the 3 kobolds will go off on their adventure. It'll be fun.
The 3 kobolds, yes.
I want them all. I want to play them all.
Awesome. All right. Thank you everyone for watching Builds Character. Thank you for listening to some of the key points in the new errata. Those will be available on Tuesday on D&D Beyond. And thank you for watching our absurd characters. We love making them. I don't know anyone who makes as many characters as I do other than Lauren. I think Lauren and I are creatures of inspiration. And I think D&D Beyond is perhaps, I'm not going to say unhealthy, but it's become a habit of ours in our free time, making new silly characters and getting excited to play them. Especially when one of us plays the same character every time in every live stream. I play a lot of weird characters outside of that, such as my big goblin boy who gets tall. So thank you everyone for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. Have a great day.